The first time Linda met David Okonkwo, she thought he was joking. Men like him didn't exist. Not in real life. Not in Lagos. Not in her world. She was 28 years old, working as a customer service representative in a telecommunications company on Victoria Island. Every morning she woke before sunrise, squeezed herself into crowded buses, battled traffic for hours, and returned home exhausted. Life wasn't terrible, but it wasn't easy either. She lived in a small apartment in Surulere with her younger sister, Chioma. Their father had died years earlier. Their mother sold food in a local market. Every month was a struggle. Every month felt like survival. Then one rainy Tuesday evening, everything changed. Linda had stayed late at work. Heavy rain flooded parts of Lagos, making transportation almost impossible. Frustrated, she stood beneath a small shelter outside her office building. That was when a black luxury SUV stopped nearby. The driver's window rolled down. A handsome man smiled. "Need a ride?" Linda laughed. "No, thank you." The man smiled again. "I'm not a kidnapper." That's exactly what a kidnapper would say. The stranger burst into laughter. For some reason, his laughter felt genuine, warm, human. After several minutes of conversation, Linda reluctantly accepted the ride. That was the beginning. Over the next few months, David appeared everywhere. Coffee shops, restaurants, bookstores. It almost felt like fate. He was charming, intelligent, funny, and unlike many wealthy men she had met, he listened more than he spoke. Eventually, he revealed who he was. The founder of one of Nigeria's fastest-growing technology companies. A billionaire. One of the youngest billionaires in West Africa. Linda nearly fainted. "You're joking." "I'm not." She immediately became suspicious. Why would a billionaire be interested in someone like her? David simply smiled. "Because money can buy many things." "What?" "But it can't buy peace." Within a year they were married. The wedding became one of the most talked about events in Lagos. Celebrities attended. Politicians attended. Business leaders attended. The event flooded social media. Everyone talked about Linda, the ordinary girl who married a billionaire. Friends envied her. Strangers admired her. Even family members treated her differently. Her mother could barely stop smiling. "My daughter has made it." For the first time in her life, Linda experienced luxury. Private jets. Luxury vacations. 5-star hotels. Designer clothes. The kind of life most people only saw on Instagram. Everything seemed perfect. Almost too perfect. Then strange things started happening. Small things at first. Things easy to ignore. David hated photographs. He allowed professional pictures during public appearances, but rarely took personal photos. Whenever Linda suggested selfies, he found excuses. Whenever she wanted family portraits, he changed the subject. At first she assumed he was private. Many wealthy people were. But the behavior continued. Months passed. Then she noticed something else. He hated mirrors. Not a normal dislike. Fear. Whenever they stayed in hotels, he requested rooms with fewer mirrors. Large decorative mirrors mysteriously disappeared from their mansion. Employees quietly removed them. When Linda asked why, nobody seemed willing to answer. "Sir doesn't like them." That was all they ever said. Sir doesn't like them. One evening she decided to ask directly, "Why do you hate mirrors?" David froze. For a brief moment, genuine fear crossed his face. Then it vanished. "You watch too many movies." You didn't answer. "It's just a preference." The answer felt rehearsed, prepared, like something he had said many times before. Yet Linda let it go. For a while. As months passed, the mystery deepened. Several nights each month, David disappeared. No explanation. No warning. He simply left. Then returned before sunrise. Whenever she asked questions, his answers remained vague. Business. What kind of business? The boring kind. Something wasn't right. Linda felt it. The way women often sense danger before they can explain it. The feeling settled deep inside her chest, growing stronger every week. Then came the trip that changed everything. Their third wedding anniversary. Dubai. One of the most luxurious hotels in the world. The suite occupied an entire floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city skyline. Everything sparkled. Everything shined. Everything reflected. Mirrors covered nearly every wall. When they entered the suite, David looked uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. For the first time, Linda saw genuine panic in his eyes. "We should request another room." She laughed. "This place is amazing." His face remained serious. "Linda, we're staying." He said nothing else. But he barely slept that night. Around 2 a.m., Linda woke up thirsty. The room was dark. Quiet. She reached toward David's side of the bed. Empty. Confused, she stood up. The bathroom light glowed faintly. Maybe he was inside. She walked toward it. Then stopped. A sound echoed through the room. Not a voice. Not footsteps. Something else. A low growl. Animal-like. Her heartbeat accelerated. Slowly she approached the bathroom. The door stood slightly open. Just enough to see inside. And what she saw would haunt her forever. David stood before a massive mirror. Except it wasn't David staring back. The reflection was different. Completely different. Its eyes glowed unnaturally. Its face appeared older. Darker. Almost inhuman. The thing inside the mirror smiled. But David wasn't smiling. The reflection moved independently. Like a separate creature. Like something trapped behind glass. Linda couldn't breathe. Her legs refused to move. Her mind refused to understand. The reflection slowly turned. Looked directly at her. Then smiled. A horrible smile. The kind that appears in nightmares. Suddenly the bathroom light exploded. Glass shattered. Darkness swallowed the room. Linda screamed. When she opened her eyes, morning sunlight filled the suite. She lay in bed. David sat nearby. Calm. Relaxed. Normal. "Bad dream?" he asked. Linda stared at him. Her entire body trembled. "What happened last night?" His expression changed. Only slightly. "But enough. You tell me." The mirror. Silence. The reflection. More silence. Then David sighed deeply. The way a man sighs when he realizes a secret can no longer remain hidden. For several minutes nobody spoke. Finally, David stood and walked toward the window. His shoulders seemed heavier than usual. Older. Tired. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded different. Not like a billionaire. Not like a powerful businessman. Just like a man carrying a burden. "My grandfather made a deal." Linda stared. "What kind of deal?" "The kind desperate people make." He explained that decades earlier, his family had lived in extreme poverty. His grandfather became obsessed with wealth. Obsessed with escaping suffering. According to family stories, he visited a mysterious spiritualist in a remote village. A powerful man. A dangerous man. The spiritualist offered prosperity, influence, success. But every gift carries a price. Every shortcut hides a consequence. The wealth came. Slowly at first. Then rapidly. Businesses flourished. Investments multiplied. Fortunes grew. Generation after generation became richer. More powerful. More successful. But the family curse remained. The first male child of every generation carried it. Including David. "The reflection isn't me," he whispered. "It's the price." Linda felt cold. Even beneath the warm Dubai sun. What does that mean? It means some things cannot be escaped. For the first time, she understood his fear. The missing mirrors. The anxiety. The disappearances. The secrecy. Everything suddenly made sense. Or perhaps nothing did. Because some truths are too frightening to fully understand. When they returned to Lagos, Linda faced a choice. Leave. Or stay. Many people would have run. Many people would have chosen safety. Normality. Distance. But love is rarely logical. Love often asks impossible questions. And demands impossible answers. For weeks she prayed. spoke to pastors, spoke to elders, spoke to family members, searching for answers, searching for peace, searching for courage. One evening her mother visited. After listening quietly, the older woman smiled. Then she said something Linda never forgot. "Every family has secrets." Linda laughed. "Not like this." "No." Her mother nodded. "Not like this." Then she reached for her daughter's hand. "But your marriage was never about money." "What do you mean?" "If it was about money, you would have left already." The words hit hard. Because they were true. Months later, Linda made her decision. She stayed. Not because she wasn't afraid. She was terrified. Not because she understood everything. She understood very little. But because she finally realized something important. The greatest darkness in the world isn't found in curses, or spirits, or reflections. It's found in fear. And fear only grows stronger when people run from it. Together, they began confronting the past, seeking spiritual guidance, breaking generational patterns, rejecting dangerous traditions, building a different future, a healthier future, a freer future. It wasn't easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. But slowly, the shadows that haunted the family began losing their power. Because secrets survive through silence, and darkness survives through fear. Years later, people still admired David and Linda. They still saw the billionaire lifestyle, the success, the influence, the luxury. But nobody knew the full story. Nobody knew what happened behind closed doors. Nobody knew the battles they fought. Nobody knew the price that nearly destroyed everything. And whenever Linda walked past a mirror, she remembered the lesson that changed her life forever. Not everything that shines is a blessing. Not every fortune comes without sacrifice. And sometimes the greatest test of love isn't marrying someone during their success. It's standing beside them when their darkest secret finally comes to light. Linda thought the nightmare was over. For years, life seemed normal. David no longer feared mirrors. The disappearances stopped. The strange reflections vanished. Even the heavy atmosphere that once haunted their mansion seemed gone. Then, on their 10th wedding anniversary, something happened. Their son, Daniel, turned 9 years old. That morning, Linda walked into his bedroom carrying a birthday gift. The boy stood silently before a mirror. Not unusual. Except he was talking to someone. Someone who wasn't there. Linda smiled. "Who are you talking to?" Daniel pointed at the mirror. "My friend." A chill ran through her body. "What friend?" The boy smiled. "The man inside." The gift slipped from her hands. For a moment, the room felt 20 degrees colder. Daniel looked confused. "Mummy." Slowly, Linda approached the mirror. Nothing. Only her reflection. Only Daniel's reflection. Nothing else. Yet that night she couldn't sleep. Because David had never told their son anything about the curse. Nothing. Not one word. The next morning she confronted him. David's face turned pale. Daniel said what? He said there's a man in the mirror. David sat down heavily. The color drained from his face. That's impossible. Why? Because the curse ended with me. Silence filled the room. Then David whispered something that terrified her. It ended. Didn't it? For the first time in years, fear returned to his eyes. The same fear she had seen in Dubai. The same fear that once ruled his life. 3 weeks later, Linda made a discovery hidden among old family documents. The curse had never targeted the first male child. That was a lie. A lie repeated for generations. The spiritualist had deceived David's grandfather. The real price was far worse. The curse skipped a generation. Every third generation. And Daniel belonged to the next cycle. Everything David suffered, everything his grandfather suffered, was only preparation. The true inheritance had always been waiting for the child who would eventually be born. Their child. Their son. And according to the final page of the journal, the entity in the mirror wasn't trapped. It was growing stronger. Waiting. Learning. Patiently preparing for the day it could finally leave the glass. Then came the final sentence. A sentence written nearly 80 years earlier. When the child begins speaking to the reflection, there is very little time left. Linda stared at the page, then slowly looked up, because she could hear Daniel laughing, talking to someone, inside the bathroom. And when she reached the door, she heard a second voice laughing with him. A voice that definitely wasn't her son's. Linda froze outside the bathroom door. The laughter continued. Daniel giggled. Then another voice answered. Low. Male. Com. The sound of it made every hair on her body stand up. She pushed the door open. Immediately the laughter stopped. Daniel stood alone before the sink, brushing his teeth. Nothing unusual. No one else was there. No hidden person. No stranger. Just her son. Daniel looked up. Mummy. Her heart hammered. Who were you talking to? The boy frowned. The man. Which man? The mirror man. Linda's stomach twisted. Slowly she turned toward the mirror. Only their reflections stared back. Nothing more. But Daniel smiled. He doesn't like when you look at him. That night she told David everything. For the first time in their marriage, she saw genuine terror consume him. Not fear. Terror. The kind that belongs to someone who already knows the worst possible outcome. We need to leave. Leave where? Anywhere. You spent years telling me running doesn't solve anything. This is different. No. Linda shook her head. We fight. David looked away. Some battles cannot be won. But Linda wasn't willing to accept that. Not when their son was involved. The following week they traveled deep into eastern Nigeria, to a village David's family had avoided for generations. The village where everything began. The village where his grandfather had made the deal. The villagers recognized the family name immediately. And they were afraid. Old women crossed themselves when they heard it. Men refused eye contact. Children were pulled indoors. Finally, an elderly woman agreed to speak. She was nearly 90 years old, blind in one eye, yet strangely alert. The moment she saw Daniel, she began crying. Not softly, violently, as if mourning someone already dead. What is it? Linda asked. The old woman stared at Daniel. He looks exactly like him. Like who? The first child. The room became silent. What first child? David asked. The old woman looked confused. You don't know. Know what? The old woman leaned forward. Your grandfather never made the deal for himself. A cold chill spread through the room. What are you talking about? The woman lowered her voice. The spiritualist demanded a sacrifice. David's face hardened. What sacrifice? A child. Linda stopped breathing. The old woman continued. Your grandfather's first son disappeared. No. David shook his head. My father died in an accident. The woman slowly smiled. A sad smile. The accident was the story they told. The room spun around Linda. What really happened? The old woman's voice became almost a whisper. They locked the boy inside the shrine. Silence. No. They believed the spirit would consume him. No. They were wrong. The old woman pointed directly at Daniel. It didn't consume him. Then what happened? The old woman looked toward the window, toward the darkness outside. Then she spoke the words that changed everything. It escaped with him. The room exploded into confusion. David stood. What does that mean? The old woman stared directly at Daniel. The child survived. What child? The sacrificed child. David's voice cracked. That's impossible. The old woman shook her head. No. Then she pointed toward a faded photograph hanging on the wall. Linda walked closer. Her blood turned to ice. The picture showed a young boy standing beside the spiritualist. The photograph was nearly a century old. Yet the child looked identical to Daniel. Identical. Same eyes. Same face. Same smile. Impossible. The date beneath the photograph read 1938. Daniel slowly walked toward the picture, then softly whispered, I know him. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. What did you say? Linda asked. Daniel pointed at the boy. He visits me. The room fell silent. Then Daniel smiled. A smile Linda had never seen before. A smile that wasn't his. And in a voice that sounded far older than a 9-year-old child, he whispered, "He's been waiting for us." To be continued. If this story touched you, remember to subscribe to Sparks of Life Studios for more powerful African storytelling, mystery, and life lessons. I will see you on the next episode.